Hey, Coach Williams. I understand that Sean and Hubert kind of lucked into getting a vaccine shot. I was wondering if there was like a plan for the staff, and I kind of asked that in the context of the CBS report earlier this week about some apprehensions nationwide about conference tournaments being able to still be played and that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Well, I'm not aware of those discussions about the conference tournaments, but yeah, and I like the way you said it. They looked into it, and uh, most of my guys, most of my staff members do want to take it, and I think that everyone that has an opportunity to take the vaccination, I think they should. And I had mine yesterday morning, and I'm 70 years old. Last week they put the limit down, the number down to 65. Made calls and calls, and Wanda got on the computer and the whole bit, and I made calls, and we finally got it scheduled yesterday morning, and took the vaccine, and or had the vaccination, I guess is maybe the right way to say it. But no, I'm hopeful that we can encourage a lot of people that have some doubts about whether or not they should take it. As I'm really following the Dr. Fauci's of the world and everybody that I listen to that are specialists, and that's the way I go.
Is there any concern that people might look at it like Carolina basketball is being favored or any way skipping the line, so to speak?
I don't have any. I'm at practice yesterday when it came up. I said, go, they said they had a chance to go get it. I said, go get it. And then I turned my attention back to Garrison and Caleb and RJ. And I know that when Roy Williams and Wanda got it, we're over 65 about 5 years. So we are in the category that can get it. So we got it, and we scheduled it. I didn't just go out on the middle of the highway on the sign and say, can I get a vaccine? We went through the proper procedures, and everybody's going to make what they want of every situation. But I don't, like I say, guys, I'm in the middle of practice. What am I supposed to say? No, don't go do that. So I told them to go on.
CL, since you brought it up here, I thought we talked about this on the phone before, but since you brought it up, um, they got the vaccination yesterday because where they were giving it, the people who had signed up for it had run its course, and they still had vaccinations left. So the university, I think, has designated certain groups that are within a certain distance of certain sites. And so athletics got called and made calls to different people who were in that age group or who were available, who could get there. I even got called, but when I drove down there, they had shut the door and said, I'm sorry, but we've already used up the ones that were left. We were going to throw those out, but sorry. But so I turned around and went home. So that's how those vaccinations happen. Brendan Marks, you're next.
Hey, Roy, thanks for taking the time. I wanted to ask you a basketball question. You guys are 75th nationally in tempo right now. Just wanted to sort of gauge your thoughts on how the guys are picking up the pace and what they can do to continue to improve that and continue to pick up the pace.
Brandon, I'd be willing to take any suggestions because I hate it with a passion. I mean, I feel like we don't have a fast break, we have a slow break, and it really ticks me off, and worse than any team that I mean, I don't go back and check analytics because analytics for people that care about it. I watch guys play basketball and see what I think, but I do believe we're playing at a slower pace than any team I've ever coached, and that's scary, and it bothers me a great deal.
If I can quickly follow
Yeah.
up, how much of that is conditioning and guys just still getting into the rhythm of running, and how much of it is a mental thing and understanding what you want them to do every time they're on the floor?
I think it's a very little part of it is conditioning. I just think understanding how we want to play. And guys, again, we have now 7 freshmen in our top 11 because Anthony only played 4 games last year, and so he's going to be able to get a medical red shirt or may already have gotten it. I don't know. But we have 7 of our top 11. Every player in the country wants to play at a fast pace. Oh, God, Coach, I just love a fast pace. And then they get there and realize how daggum hard they have to run, and they don't enjoy it quite as much. But so it's, I'd say a little bit up, very little. I wouldn't probably say any is conditioning. I think it's just learning what you have to do. And the pace with which you have to run and the pace with which you have to push the ball.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh Graham.
Coach, I don't know if you know this, but your team's played more games than any team in the ACC with 14, and you played Wake the other day that's only played 9. Do you feel fortunate almost how many games you've been able to play to this point, considering how young the team is?
I do feel very fortunate. I know we haven't played nearly as many home games as we have. I feel like we get a home game, I don't know how to act. But what is it? I've got it right here in front of us. So we've played 5 games at home now, 5 of our 14, and that's probably a lower percentage than just about anybody. But no, I think you're exactly right, Josh. We feel very fortunate to have played the games that we have played, and there's only been 2 little hiccups. And one of those games we were able to get something replaced in the league, and in one other game we were able to get one replaced as well.
And I wanted to follow because I know how big of a baseball fan you are. Didn't know if you had a rooting interest growing up, but what were your thoughts on Henry Aaron passing away today?
Oh, I loved him. I use him as a basketball. Guys, I can't tell. Can you hear me okay with the mask on?
Yes.
Okay. I use Henry Aaron as a basketball example because I love guys that make a really hard play and make it look easy, and that's what Hank Aaron did. I don't like guys that make a really easy play and try to make it look hard, and I tell my guys that and have used that for years and years and years. Mickey Mantle was my favorite player, but I grew up in the area of Mickey Mantle and Hank Aaron and Willie Mays, and I loved watching those guys, and Hank Aaron was just one of the best of all time. And again, I think it never really got the true appreciation of what he did, and there was no steroids, anything like that during that era, and he was just a fantastic player. And everything I've heard about him my entire life is that he was a fantastic person as well, and I loved that part of it.
Davis Wallace.
Coach, I know you said earlier with you and Coach Davis talking about coaching energy. So how is that going in regards to coaching energy for the team, and how do you see that translating into game? What can be done to improve that?
Well, we're being very disgusted that we're having a coach effort. I've always felt like that coaches should coach execution and game plan, and the players should supply the effort. And it has been very disgusting for us. We see that we're getting a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better. And it's something that we need to really continue emphasizing. And Dave's trying to get to where a lot of our teams have been in the past, which gave tremendous effort. But, you know, it's hard. And again, I'll go back, and it's not an excuse, it's a fact. If you've got 7 freshmen to talk, they're trying to figure out if they're on the right side of the court or the left side of the court. Oh, yeah, I better be running as hard as I can. It's a lot for those guys. But, you know, guys, we're at 14 games. It's time you started knowing all that and let it be human nature too.
Andrew Jones.
Hey, Coach, Leakey told us the other night that he described his role as whoever else is on the court with him, he kind of figures it out based on the player groupings. What are your minimal expectations from Leakey from game to game, and what couple areas of his game do you think can still grow a lot the rest of the season?
Well, Andrew, I didn't necessarily understand you so quite as well about what Leakey said. If you wouldn't mind repeating a little bit of that.
Yeah, he said that when he's on the court, his role depends on who the other 4 are. So it changes. You know, he can be a passer, he can be a rebounder, whatever it is. It depends on the player grouping. So what are your minimal expectations from him? And also, what parts of his game do you think can still grow a lot the remainder of the season?
Yeah. Well, you know, he's so valuable to us because he does so many things. But his role always is going to be the best defensive player on the floor and give us another rebounder on both ends of the floor, on the offensive board and the defensive board. But he also has that role of, okay, sometimes you're going to have to be the point guard. Sometimes you're going to get the ball off the board and push it down the court, so you have to be a playmaker. So I think when he loses himself in the game mentally on the defensive end of the floor, his play is so much better. And I think we need him to continue that. And, yes, he's fantastic at running the floor, getting the guys pitch ahead to him. If we can get some more of those pitch aheads, take the ball to the basket, I think is good. in the game against Wake Forest, 8 assists and 1 turnover. So he does have a better appreciation of the value of the ball than some of the other guys. But I think explaining it like that is good for Leaky, but it's also a little bit of a role that everybody plays. And it's part of the game of basketball. But in my opinion, he should be the best perimeter defensive player in the league. I want him to focus on that. I want him to get to the board. I want him to be Dudley Bradley. I want him to be Jackie Manuel. Oh, yeah, you scored 4 out of 4 from three-point line against Miami. That's fantastic. Well, but I want him to be that Jackie Manuel and Dudley Bradley. And, I mean, Dudley Bradley was the best defensive player in college basketball. And his senior year, he didn't average in double figures. And for his career, he probably averaged 4 points a game, but he was the 13th, I think. It's a long time ago, probably before some of you guys were alive. I think he was the 13th player taken in the draft, and it was just because what he did defensively.
Adam, no, Andrew, I got a bunch. Adam, then Kip.
Hey, Roy, you've talked several times about how recruiting has changed, and you know, if you had your preference, you would just hop on a plane and go fly somewhere and watch a guy shoot free throws if you could, just to be able to see him in person, but you can't do that. Like, so how has that changed what you are doing? Are you having to FaceTime these guys more? Are you calling these guys more? Is someone helping you out with that? Just how are you going about that, and what's it like for you?
I hate it. There's no question about it. I like to be in front of a guy, let him see my face, and me see his face, his family, and the same thing. But I'm calling more, texting more. Yes, I have to have help with the Zoom and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not as comfortable with it, and I don't think I'm as good at it as a lot of people. I know I'm not as good at the Zoom and junk like that as a lot of people, but I have my entire life relied on the personal touch and the personal relationship.
Kip, then Macy.
Yeah, hi, Roy. First, appreciate you noting that some of us are too young to remember Dudley Bradley.
Kip, I saw you when I said that.
Thanks. Hey, looking at the numbers from the Wake Forest game, your team shoots or attempts 9 3-pointers. Is that more what you want to see in terms of that, you know, in a game-by-game basis? That's about right for your club?
You know, Kip, I've never told my players a number, but I want them to attack inside first, either by dribble or pass. If Caleb can dribble the ball while he basket, I want him to shoot it. If he can throw it in there to Garrison, I want him to shoot it. But I want to attack inside first. And then if it goes inside and it comes back out and you're open, shoot the daggum basketball. But I've never put a number on it. I've always been one to like balance. I want to have inside scoring, and I want to have guys making three-point shots. What were we, Matt, 3 for 9 against Wake or something like that? Something like that. You know, I'd like to make more threes than that. There's no question about it. But at the same time, I like shooting right at 55% in the second half.
Macy, then Greg Barnes.
Hi, Roy. With the NC State game this weekend and Duke game coming up soon, how do you prepare the newcomers for these, so to speak, rivalry games that are garnering a lot of attention?
Well, dear, I'm telling you the gospel truth. We play State tomorrow. I have no freaking idea who we play next. And I never look down the schedule. I'm just telling you. You guys can laugh. You don't have to believe it. Well, who do we play next?
Pitt. At Pitt.
Pittsburgh. You know, Pittsburgh next week. And that I don't have any idea. I never look down the schedule. And I'm being honest. I never look down the schedule. I know we play State tomorrow, and the whole league is ACC, or they're all rivalry games. And if you're playing Stony Brook, I got a friend of mine that coaches at Stony Brook. If you're playing Stony Brook, I'm going to try to be focused on Stony Brook, not who we're going to play after Stony Brook.
Got time for a couple more questions. Greg Barnes, then Tom Shanahan.
Hey, Roy, to my untrained eye, it seemed as though State had success with the ball screen in that first game a couple weeks ago. How do you think your team has developed and grown and being able to defend that screen better?
You know, Greg, and it was nice of you to say untrained eye, but they beat us in every way you can be beaten. They beat us with the ball screen. They beat us with inside play. They beat us with shooting the threes on and making them. We did, in my mind, it was the worst defensive game I've ever had a team coach. I mean, ever had a team play. Maybe that's the worst defensive game I've ever coached as well. But they were the aggressor and everything. They made shots. They got the ball where they wanted. They drove it to the basket. They turned us over, took it down the court. They manhandled us the way I look at it, and we were fortunate, got some breaks in the second half and made a couple of shots and got it close. But it wasn't just a screen on the ball. I mean, Devin Daniels drives the ball to the basket the first 2 or 3 times. Helms all year long have been slipping the screen. In this game, he set every screen and held it a long time and didn't slip the screen. They were a step ahead of us in everything that happened during the game.
Last 3 questions. Tom Shanahan, then Royal Howell, then Chansky. Go ahead.
Hi, Coach. I also have a Hank Aaron question with Coach Dean Smith's history. I wanted to ask you if you and/or Dean ever had a chance to meet with Hank and talk to him about race in American sports.
You know, I don't know about Coach Smith. I've never had that opportunity, but I've read a lot of things about what Hank Aaron did and just been so appreciative and the way he handled himself, even down the stretch. I mean, this week, guys, he went and got a COVID vaccination to try to get people to understand this is okay, because a lot of people with color, according to the news report that I watched last night, that was one of his goals, was to try to get more people of color to take the vaccination. So he was a leader in our sports world, but also a leader in our society.
Royal Howell, then Art.
Hello, Coach. Coach Keatts stated earlier being forced to play his freshmen a lot of minutes to start the season. And looking around the ACC, some teams have started off this season slow as far as record-wise. Is it more of implementing freshmen to the college basketball game speed that's the reason for some programs starting off slower than usual, or the conference as a whole just being much more balanced?
You know, I think it's a little bit of both. I think that, we've seen some of those teams going there and, well, they're going to win this game. Well, they didn't win that game. Well, they're going to win this game, but they didn't win. So I think there is a great deal of balance in our conference. But also, young kids, there's 2 things. They get maturity at a different way at a different time during their season, and also how effective are those leaders on the team that are experienced. David Noel put his arm around Tyler Hansbrough and Bobby Frazier and Marcus Ginyard, one of the greatest leaders I've ever seen. They didn't even realize he was leading them. But I think that was something that was great about that team, and that team ended up being a number 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, and we started 3 freshmen the first game and was one of the youngest. But this is the youngest that I can ever remember, especially when you talk about a set number of guys. I mean, we've been playing 10 guys, and 6 of them have been freshmen.
Art, last question for Coach, then we'll get Garrison in here.
Hey, Roy, can you talk about the difference in the preparation of recruits fundamentally now than 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 25 years ago? Not talent-wise, but how they come in prepared fundamentally.
You know, Art, a lot of people say the kids aren't as fundamentally sound, and if I had to lean, I'd say maybe they're not quite as fundamentally sound. They're much better athletically. They're much more worldly. But, there's some things that would be fundamentally sound. I mean, the old pick and roll, you have to teach guys how to run the pick and roll because it's not done. Nobody on my team has probably ever played a pickup game on an outdoor court and with older guys and that kind of thing. So that part is a negative. Their athleticism is a positive. But I think, to me, the biggest problem we have with young guys, and this is just me, is winning. And I mean, I'm serious. Winning is not as important. You play in a summer league. I saw Ty Lawson play in a game, and Ty was great for us. I mean, he fit what I want as a point guard, as good or better than anybody I've ever come close to having. And I see him play in the summer. He plays 5 games in one day. And he made a bonehead play at the end of one of those games that almost cost him the game. And so when I'm sitting right behind their bench, like 6, 8 feet behind their bench, and they come over there and the coach said, all right, guys, grab your stuff. We're on court 4 in 50 minutes. And so to me, the biggest thing is that appreciation and the understanding and the desperate desire to win, because it's not there as much as I think the older guys had it.
Thanks, Coach. Garrison is ready, so.
Thank you, guys. Everybody have a good day.